Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. What's your question?
Oh my, I didn't have a question. But concerning, have you heard of Jesus who was crucified and resurrected?
Yes, I heard of it.
And so you've heard of? Have you heard of the? You have a Bible where you are?
I don't really have Bible with me here, but I've been reading it.
Oh, nice. So, do you assemble with others who believe in Jesus, or?
I don't believe in him anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I can share ideas about about him, and then maybe why I left Christianity.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Why? What made
I've
you?
seen where you said I believe in baptism is required. Why don't you? And I want to share light on it.
Right. Well, you don't believe because it came from Jesus, but you don't believe in Jesus. So I understand you don't believe you need to be baptized because you don't believe in Jesus anymore. But
It-
I
it- the thing is,
rather
even if I was a Christian, I would say that no need for baptism because Adam, Jesus is second Adam, okay, and if Jesus is second Adam, the Adam we knew in Genesis was the one who brought sin, and so First John 3:8 said Jesus came that sin may be destroyed. You understand? So if he came and he was sacrificed to remove sin, then no one is supposed to go through baptism for sin forgiveness.
well, I think you're referencing Romans chapter 5, but Romans chapter 5, individuals through Jesus received grace, and those who have never sinned don't get grace. So when it talks about Jesus reversing what Adam did, it's the idea of us being able to receive grace for our sin through him. So it's not teaching that he reversed completely opposite everything that Adam did. Otherwise, why are you receiving grace if you've never sinned? Or it says life. So why are we having life from the spiritual dead? If Jesus reversed everything, then how did we become spiritually dead?
Um, so to me, as the scripture that you are talking about, I'm talking about First John 3:8. And when you read the First John 3:8, it talks that Jesus has come, that those sin must be destroyed. And what are the sins? Adultery, thou shalt not, stealing and all those things. So Jesus has come that all those things must be gone. So automatically, whether you are a Jew, a Christian, whatsoever, a pagan or whatsoever, we have been brought after Jesus' sacrifice. We have been brought back to the beginning of creation where there's no sin.
Well, it
That's
doesn't say so. It says the purpose of Jesus was to destroy the works of the devil, and we see that like First Corinthians 6, where Paul writes to Corinthians and he talks about the unrighteous and he mentions murderers and thieves and adulterers and fornicators and covetousness and homosexuals, things like that. And he says, and such were some of you. So when it says there that he came to destroy the works of the devil, that means like the reference to the power to forgive you, and then through his teachings encourage you how to live a godly life.
yeah. If that is the reason why he came, then he came for nothing. Then
That's not true. Because
then it's useless
how
because
so? Because the Corinthians who used to be fornicators and adulterers no longer were, because they heard and believed in Jesus and started following his teachings. So how is that useless when it actually helped stop them?
it never stops. The sins that are committed during the time of the Old Testament, and Jesus came that those things may be stopped because according to Hebrews, I think Hebrews 11, when you read it, it will tell you that um, those sins and sacrifice of animals could not remove those sins. That is why the Son came, the Son Jesus came, that those who believe in Him, you know, those sins shall be no more. But we still sin more than those days after the coming of Jesus.
But it
Most
never says a Christian who believes in Jesus will stop sinning completely. Never teaches that.
Yes, so that's why I'm saying that then his coming is useless. He did not come to do anything
Yeah, to forgive individuals.
because a lot of Christians are sinners. We are
But
this
to
we
forget,
are
so I guess to back it up then, because do you believe in a creator now?
creator.
Yeah, do you believe in a creator who created the earth that we live on?
No, I don't believe after living religion, especially Christianity, Islam, those gods and okay. So after my studies, I found out that there's a God in the Old Testament, and then a different God in the New Testament, and then a different God in Islam. After debunking all those gods, I don't want to go back to anything kind of a God. So there's no God anywhere. There's no God anywhere. Because
Okay.
yes, if
I
you,
mean, you know,
as soon as you say there's God, let's talk about God outside these religions. That brings also the idea of creating another religion with a God, concept of God.
okay, well, you would know just from having our conversation that I would disagree with you that the God in the Old Testament is a different God than the God in the New Testament. But concerning this idea, because so you don't even believe in a creator?
Yeah. I don't believe in a creator. I don't believe in. But what I think, I don't force it on anybody. And if you don't believe in it, you are not going to hell. I don't. It is my idea that I think that there had been a civilization before us, and that civilization, they were well advanced, and they lived this creation to us, and we too, in this generation, that in this kind of civilization, we shall also be kind of technological, science and technology. We shall grow in it, and we shall also invent things and then leave it to a next kind of beings to come. That is my perception. It is my idea, and if you don't believe in it, it doesn't mean you go to hell. So it is my idea.
So does it make sense to you the concept, because life comes from life and that's a scientific fact, because every time that life is produced it comes from something that was already alive. Would you agree with that?
I don't agree with it. So where from that initial life come from? The life that makes life, where does it come from? That is cause. Oh, so where from that cause? You understand? So if as soon as we human beings, we can never understand how creation came about. Digging into it will create argument every day. Imagine since creation, okay? Imagine since what they call creation, we are still arguing about that, and we don't know the answer. So there's no answer to it. So,
But but what I'm saying is this, is that because life comes from life and that's scientific fact that life comes from life,
when you say
right?
if you say life comes from life, how do you explain it? How do you simplify it?
Okay, so like for example, like a rock can't produce life, right? Because it's not alive. Or like say for example, a person who passed away, they can't conceive life in their womb because they're not alive, right?
And
So so it takes something alive in order to produce something else alive.
if you say so, Okay,
That doesn't
so
make
we,
sense.
we see when there's a dead body, that dead body also nourishes living things. Okay,
It does what?
they nourish living things. When a body decomposes, we see that living things feed on that decomposition. You
Right.
understand?
The body itself doesn't produce life. It things
Mm-hmm.
might eat it and continue to live or get stronger, but the
And
body
so
itself is
this
not
is
producing
so
life.
it is symbiosis. Okay, symbiosis is taking place here because we need the order. The living need the decomposition to also generate their lives. You understand?
But it
So
says symbiosis is the interaction between two organisms living in close physical association. So the fact you're even bringing up symbiosis
mhm.
indicates that both things were already alive. So, but what I'm talking about is the production of life.
Yeah. So what you are saying right now, um, you are saying it outside. I don't know whether you are saying it outside religion or in religion.
I'm just saying in general,
Okay.
it's a fact. It's a
So
scientific fact that
it's not.
life comes from life.
As soon as you say it's a fact, then somebody can also write a book and also put this statement in it that it is true. Somebody can create a Bible with this message that you are saying as being fact.
But
And
let's not even talk about the Bible for a moment, right? I'm not talking about religion at this point in the sense of trying to get you to obey any instructions. I'm not trying to do that right now. I'm trying to have a discussion about because you don't even believe in a creator. So what I'm trying to do is show based upon things that we can observe because that's what you're saying. You said, well, based upon what I've researched, you said you believe in a civilization that's existed before us. But what I'm showing is that based upon observation, and even if there was a civilization before us, they were alive. So even if they would have observed, life comes from life.
we okay, we don't know. We don't know where life came from. It's as simple as ABC.
No, but I'm saying life comes from life. I'm not asking what produced
Okay,
life. I'm saying that life comes from life.
I can also say that. Okay, well, anyway, it's your idea. I don't want to I can't say I'm disproving you, but it's an idea that you are saying that life comes from life, which I don't support it.
You don't. So, can you name one example where something became alive from something that wasn't alive?
Okay, so um, that's why I'm saying that in terms of symbiosis, we see, let's say, we see like a maggot, excuse me to say, a maggot coming from a decomposed body. Okay, so
Yeah, but the thing eating the body is already alive.
how do you know
So
that?
that's not an example of a dead body producing life. That's an example of a dead body feeding something that's already alive.
Okay, so let's say there's this animal called wasp. When they want to reproduce, they lay their eggs on dead, let's say dead organism, let's say a dead worm. Okay, and when they lay their eggs on the dead worm, then the egg fuses with the okay, so the worm becomes a food for the egg to grow up. So the egg that is laid on the worm, are you saying that that egg is has life in it?
No, what I'm saying is that it took something living to lay those eggs because the wasp was alive. It
Yeah,
takes life to produce life.
but without what I understand what you're saying, but without the nourishment, what you claim life will not be life.
But nobody's talking about that. What you're talking about is how death works with life. But what I'm talking about is the production of life. Because if you were giving an example of something non living producing life, then you would have to say, here's a dead wasp.
Mhm.
And look, a living wasp Well, that's not even an example because that'd be something living. Like you'd say, look, here's a dead wasp, and then this dead wasp laid eggs. Dead wasps don't conceive to lay eggs. It takes a living wasp.
So what I want, if I understand what you're saying, then we can say that human beings, all living things, are gods. Anything that lives, because living human beings produce living human beings, and living animals also produce living animals. So which one is which? Which one created and which kind of life produced life? Where is the source of it?
That's what I'm saying, is that if you go back far enough, life has always existed because life doesn't come from something not alive. It always takes something living to produce something else that's living. So if you go back far enough, life has always existed, which tells us that there is some source of self-existing life.
Well, yeah, okay, it can be, but that thing doesn't doesn't tell us anything to do. Like, for instance, when you take the Bible right now, can you if are you religious?
Am I religious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that thing that you are talking about, is it the one that told them to write the Bible?
Well, that'd be the next question. Is concerned. My belief is yes. Is that this self-existing life is alive. There's something that possesses this nature, right? So that would be the next question, because all of our life, you're alive, I'm alive. So however far it goes back, there's some living source that gave us life, right?
Yeah, yes. As for that one, fine. Something made us, be alive. Something made
Right.
us alive. But that thing that makes us alive, we don't know it.
See, but then that would be the difference, is that your studies, when you searched for this self-existent life and can we know this living source, your study to the decision no, but my studies had led me to yes. And these arguments that you bring up from the Bible, like for example saying that Jesus, he basically was crucified for nothing because sin still continues, I don't see that as a valid reason not to believe in a creator, because the Bible never says that. The Bible actually, Jesus himself said that sin will continue until judgment day. So what you see is proof of why you shouldn't believe it. I mean, to
Oh,
me, it makes sense because he said it
it's a
will.
whole lot, though. You get not that per se. It's a whole lot. The prophecies that were stated, as that were stated for Jesus, they are not true.
Wait, you said the prophecies about Jesus aren't true?
Yeah, all the prophecies are not true. They are not true.
I'm so sorry. It sounded like you were cutting out. Did you say all the prophecies are not true?
Yeah, all of them are not true. All of them. None of them.
Well, we have in the New Testament it quoting the Old Testament saying Jesus fulfilled this sentence or this language. So you would say that Jesus never fulfilled any of those things?
None of them. None of them. Isaiah 7:14 is not talking about. It's not talking about about Jesus.
Years ago?
There might be a person by name like that who walk on earth, but might have been hyped. He has been
What was
hyped.
that last part you said?
Somebody might have come like that, but he has been hyped. For instance, somebody like Martin Luther King, somebody who came to bring some kind of civil right, or who has been a civil activist and has been hyped. You understand? That's how I see it. But if you take the prophecies for Jesus, they are not true. They use eisegesis to create them. It's an ancient knowledge, proof texting. You pick the message from the author, and then you change it to suit your agenda.
Well, we have recorded words from Jesus in the what we call, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the Gospels, and Jesus himself claimed that he fulfilled certain Old Testament passages. So the Jesus who existed that we have written down in this conversation, would you say that he's a liar?
Yeah, it's a big time lie, because it is not Jesus who has written his personal book and stating those messages. It is people who are saying that Jesus said so. You understand? Some people are saying Jesus said this. If maybe Jesus had written his own book saying those things, then it may be a little closer to a truth. But somebody is saying, let's say somebody is saying that you say this is what you said. How can we know that it's true?
Well, I would say this reasons why I would believe it, or I have chosen to investigate the Bible more, is because 2,000 years ago, it's proven there was a man named Jesus who was actually crucified, who was buried, who was removed from his tomb, right? Because otherwise, if they just wanted to shut down the idea that Jesus was resurrected, they would just go to where he was buried, because he was buried, and say, look, he's still buried, but he's gone from the tomb. And then upon that, the message began being taught everywhere throughout the entire Roman Empire that this Jesus was resurrected, came back to life, and was living in heaven, and now all the world should be ready for Judgment Day and obey him so we could receive forgiveness.
Yes. The thing is, all that you are saying, fine. I've read them. I've read what you are saying. But what I'm saying is, how did he become God? How did Jesus become God? And all those things are in the Bible. How he became God by the use of prophecies in the Old Testament. You surely know that it's an invented person. For instance, as I said, Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, if you read from verses 1 of Isaiah 7, you will notice that the character being talked about over there is not about a savior or a God anywhere who is coming to the world to be worshipped. It's not there like that. And the event that happened, the event that is supposed to happen, it should happen within 60 years. It's not an event that will happen way like 100 years, even 800 years back.
Well, we have in the gospel, because there's evidence that the letters that we have in the what we call the New Testament, from Matthew all the way to Revelation, they were letters being circulated throughout the first century. So before the year 100, these were all letters that were being circulated, and we have what they were being taught and what they were believing even in the first century. And so what they were believing in the first century was what we call the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, what they taught about Jesus's life and the things that he said. And Jesus himself actually, because you said, how did Jesus become God? We have recorded words from Jesus saying that he shared in the same nature as his Father.
I understand what you're saying, but how did he become God to say those things? And if you want to know that, it is was born, he knew him. You understand? So if before he was born, he knew him, then it's like he existed before he was born. Jeremiah existed before he was born, just like we are talking about Jesus. So,
Well, it didn't say that. God said he knew him. It didn't say that. It
how
never says he was born
how
before that or he existed.
how before he was born, he knew him. So when he was not born, he knew him.
No, it just means that before something came to pass, the creator had knowledge that that event would come to pass, a reference to that individual being brought to pass in that specific generation.
Okay, so
I did a study on that. You're referencing Jeremiah. I did a study on that. I'd have to find the other verse because there is another verse because I heard that and there's another verse where it says before I knew 30. Let me see if I can find it right now while we're on.
before Abraham was I am. Is that which one?
No, I'm trying to see if I can find it. Let me see. This should just take 1 second. I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to find it because there's another passage where it referenced knowledge of something before it happened, and it wasn't saying that that thing was already in existence. It's just saying that the creator had possession of the knowledge of that before it actually happened. So it doesn't demand that the thing that has knowledge about, like, it's like, say, for example, an event, the creator knew an event would happen. And so he knew it before it happened, but that didn't mean that that event was happening when he knew it. And I'll send you a message on here. I'll send a message because I know I did do a study on that because I did hear that. And it's the idea of people believing that you exist before you're born. And that verse was brought up. But I remember doing a study on it, but I'll have to relook at my notes and see if I can send that to you.
Yeah, the thing is, if the concept of the teaching of Jesus is correct, then it means that we existed before we were born, because spirit does not die. So if you say that you have a spirit in you, does spirit die?
The spirit?
Yeah, does it die?
Jesus gave an illustration that the spirit departs from the body and the spirit is still alive while the body is the thing that's dead.
Yeah, but is spirit eternal?
That's what it pictures.
So if it is eternal, then it is well, you can trace it back and you can trace it forth.
No, that's not what eternal means. Eternal means without end. So some contexts also mean without beginning. It depends on the context that it's used. Like, for example, Jesus uses that terminology and he says basically to make friends with your possessions in this life. Because, say, for example, you don't have anywhere to stay. He said they'll receive you to everlasting, meaning eternal. It's the same Greek word, eternal habitations. And that's the idea that if you lose your house or some reason you need a place to stay, that they'll let you live with them from there forward forever as long as you live. So it doesn't go back.
It only goes forward.
Not always, but in that verse, yeah. So I'm just showing that the word eternal at times can reference no beginning, no ending, but at other times it can reference no ending. But even then, sometimes the word eternal can just mean as far as can be, in a sense, because it says, for example, in the Old Testament, like, many nations allowed slavery, and a person could choose to be a slave, and it says they would be, because they're treated good, right? They get food. They're allowed to have families. It's basically like permanent employment where they get houses where they can live. Because There's the context of having a good master, a good slave who wanted to work for their master forever. And so it uses the context, though, saying that that person would be a slave to that master forever. But that doesn't mean that when they passed away, that they would still be their slave.
Okay, I will come back to you. I'm in the middle of something. Let me come
Oh,
back to
okay.
you. Mhm.
All right. Well, hey, it was nice talking with you. I'm gonna hit the follow button. We already follow each other.
Okay.
So, hey, did you come on before when we had a conversation?
Yeah. I had conversation with you before.
Oh, hey, and you said because you study the Old Testament and the New Testament authors quote the Old Testament out of context.
Yes.
I remember you now, man. It was nice talking with you again.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, have a good one. Well, I thought that was a beneficial conversation for everyone listening.